Well, good evening, everyone. It's Paul Tilley, and welcome to the Atlantic Business Trade Certificate for this evening. Tonight, we're talking about topic 2, credit. So just to give you a little bit of a background on credit. Credit effectively is money from somebody else. Okay? It comes down to basically it's money from someone else to help your business start up. Tonight, we're going to be talking about several aspects of credit and how we can best use it to achieve our goals as a business person. So, after completing this topic, you'll have a good understanding of where to find and evaluate the various sources of financing for your business. We're going to distinguish between what's called equity financing and what's called debt financing. We're going to evaluate the various non-bank and bank-related financing options. We're going to evaluate government funding sources, and we're going to distinguish between something called a business line of credit, short-term financing, and long-term financing. And we're going to evaluate our credit from the expense, how do companies do it. We're going to help figure out what are the essential ingredients for a solid credit record. And we're going to establish banking relationships to ensure that we can get easy access to credit. First of all, we need to distinguish a couple of issues about financing. Where does it come from? And how do we distinguish it from something called equity? So debt financing or borrowing is going out and getting a loan from a bank, someone, government agency. The idea is that you're going to pay it back in equal installments or a period of time you will pay it back, okay? So you get a fixed sum for a lender, and in return for that, you pay them rent on the money, which we call interest. Now, the thing is with debt financing is when you go out and do that, you have to pay it at the agreed upon schedule that is in the contract. So if you sign a contract with a bank to pay off a loan in 5 years, they're going to take X amount out of your bank account every single month or whatever the payment scheme that you have set up with them. They're going to do that, regardless if you got money there paid or not. So one of the challenges with debt financing is you need to ensure they get money to pay it off. The positive thing about debt financing is that if you borrow from someone, they still have no say in how you run your business or very limited say. So it's still your business, okay? You're taking their money, and all they want from you in return is rent for the money. Equity financing, on the other hand, is when you sell a share of your business to somebody. They actually become a partner. They actually become part of the business. They actually have a say in how the business is run. Yeah. The upside of equity financing is that if you don't pay it back, which you really don't need to do because you're selling them an ownership, there's no constant need to pay back money. It's, oh, you own a share of the business. If the business makes money, you make money, you get paid. If the business doesn't make any money, you don't make any money and you don't get paid. So there's no commitment to you to repay it. You know, obviously, if they sell their shares in the business or that sort of thing, you'd have to repay it. But on a scheduled basis, similar to what you have with a loan, no, you don't need to worry about that. So equity financing comes with the advantage of none of these necessary payments. But the downside is you're giving up ownership of your business. You know, someone's got a say in how the business is run. And depending on your own personal circumstances, that might be something that you can tolerate or something you don't want to tolerate. So the choice is yours. There's two basic options, financing or equity. From a point of view of equity and financing, and where does it show up on the financial statements that we talked about last week? Well, you will see that financing, as I say, is a loan. You're borrowing, or your business is borrowing money from a bank or a lending institution, a family member, and you're obliged to pay it back. It's going to show up on your balance sheet, which is a statement of what you own and what you owe. It's going to show up on your balance sheet as a liability. So if you borrowed, say $250,000, it will show up on your balance sheet as a long-term liability that needs to be paid back of $250,000. Now, the thing is, too, it will also show up on your financial statements in terms of cash at the beginning. Now, it's not, you won't see a corresponding amount there for 250 because we assume that this loan was made at some point in time in the future and you were used it to buy, for example, a building or machinery or something like that. Now, equity, on the other hand, equity gets reflected in the balance sheet down here under the owner's equity, because equity by definition means that someone owns the business. It implies ownership. So, you could see that someone's put some money into this business, say of $50,000. So that would show up again. It would contribute to cash or some asset. It will be reflected on the asset side, but it's also reflected on the owner's equity side. Credit's really important for a business because really, unless you're independently wealthy, you're going to need some money in order to get your business started. So you're going to need some financial help. So you need to attract investors. And that's part of the good thing with business, because you had to prove not only to yourself, but everyone else, that this business idea that you're starting has some potential. It forces you to sell the idea and to get it straight in your own head that, yeah, this can actually make money and provide a benefit to anyone who would either lend you money or would buy ownership in the business with you. Where can you get money for your business? Okay, where can you get the money? Well, combinations of equity and loans here come from any number of sources. I've listed down some here. So you can see we got personal investment, banks, love money with venture capital, angel investors, business incubators, and government funding. I'll look at these. In terms of personal investment, really, that's the money that you put into a business when you start a business, or some other owner puts into the business when they start the business. It's the owner's equity section. You're taking a risk on yourself when you invest money in your own business, right? You're saying, okay, I'm going to put $50,000, $100,000 of my own money into this, knowing that it's going to succeed, knowing that it's going to make a lot of money for me, and knowing that this is the greatest idea since sliced bread. So your personal investment, it's easy to sell the idea to yourself, but in order to get the others to get into it, you need to prove to them that you have a good plan. This is where business planning comes in, which we'll look at in another unit. There's also something called love money. Now, love money is really money from family and friends. Obviously, the bar that you need to pass in order to prove to them that you can make money and that this is a solid investment is probably lower for family. They know you. They trust you. And, they're going to be part and parcel of this with you because of blood. So love money is really money that you borrow from family and friends. And it gets your business started. They could have shares in the business. They could just loan you the money. So it could be in the form of an equity or in the form of a loan. There's another common type too called venture capital. Venture capital, there's all kinds of businesses out there in the world that are called venture capital firms. And what they do is they hunt around looking for business ideas to invest in. So what a venture capitalist does is they buy ownership in small startup businesses with the goal of making money on it, right? So you got to sell the idea to them. If they're sold on the idea, they'll invest. So these could be individuals, could be businesses, but the fact of the matter is you're selling them the idea and they're investing in your idea. So they're very much part of the ownership group and very much an equity investor. Similar to venture firms, we also have something called angel investors. These are usually companies or organizations or individuals that are set up to be as much philanthropic as anything. They're into business because it makes them feel good. These are probably rich people or businesses with lots of money that are interested in seeing others succeed. Okay, they could invest, anywhere from $25,000, $100,000 into your business. They might want an equity position. They might loan it to you. They might give it to you. But the fact of the matter is that these are people out of the blue who are angels. Now, they're harder to find, I grant you. You need to really look hard to find angel investors, but they do exist, especially if they feel that there's something in it for them that they're going to benefit from this in the long run. We also have something called business incubators, and these are fairly common with universities and colleges. College, for example, has one in Corner Brook, and the university has one in St. John's and Corner Brook. Effectively, what these do is they provide spaces for business to go set up in at a low cost rate. So you can go set up in their building, they get started, they give you preferred cost financing. They offer a lot of service, but probably the most valuable thing that they provide is information and assistance. Because they're at a university or a college, they have lots of business people around that can help you. So they provide you a lot of support, we'll call it. The Genesis Center in St. John's at the university is a classic example. A lot of small business startups start there, and usually they're high-tech businesses. They start up there, they got low rents and this sort of thing. The university is there to support them with, engineering, manufacturing, financial assistance, these sorts of things, and financial advice. And those businesses, hopefully, if all goes well, they'll take off and they'll graduate out of the incubator into the real world. So once they get so big or once they become so established, the intention is they move out of the incubator. Those are really all examples of non-bank. But as you know, most people will end up going to the banks, and banks are really the most commonly used source of funding for small business. So bankers look at companies hard. They'll look at your company. They want to see your financial statements. They want to see your record. They want to see proof that your business has the ability to make money and that they will get their money back when they lend money to you. In fact, they want to lend lots of money to you because, they make money by loaning money. That's their business, right? So they want to see you grow. They want to see you succeed, and they want you to borrow more from them. The banks really need to have a good handle on you and your business idea. So they're going to be looking for a lot of information, and they're going to want to create a long-term relationship with you. That's really what it's all about. So really, that's one of the focuses that you have with the bank. If you can get familiar with the bank manager or your loan officer, do a really good job with them in terms of communications and onward negotiations and onward loans and onward work, that helps build this relationship and it builds trust. And it's easy once you get your first loan, it's much easier to get the second one, provided that everything goes well. Typically, with banks, what they will do is they will loan your business the money, provided that you provide some personal guarantee, such as your house or some other asset that you have to insure the loan. Here in Newfoundland and Labrador, one of the things that a lot of people are always interested, entrepreneurs are interested in, is how can government help me? Well, government tends to be what we call the lender of last resort. They will come in and help you, provided you've done all of the things that we've talked about first. You need to go to the banks, you need to go to your family, you need to see if you can get an angel investor. Government tend to want to see you do those things first. If you've done those things and you got a really good business idea that doesn't really compete with someone next door to you, okay? One of the things the government is also concerned about, if you're starting up a business that's identical to my business, and they're not going to want to be loaning you money when they haven't given me anything, because it really creates unfair competition. So you need to have a unique business idea. You need to prove that you've already gone through ropes, and you need to prove, just like you did with the bank, that your business has a good potential. There's lots of organizations out there, both in federal and provincial government. I have only listed a few here. The Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency is one that comes to mind. That's federal. They have all kinds of programs for small business to help them grow. For smaller businesses and small startups, if you're a small startup, the best place to take a look at is the CBDCs. CBDCs are funded by a COA, but they're really focused on not only providing money, but providing help to get your business started. They offer loans, and usually, though, because you're a small business and because you're riskier, those loans tend to be higher interest rates than what you'd have to pay at the bank. But again, the threshold in order to get the loan tends to be lower. The Business Development Bank of Canada, BDC, is there as well. That's another federal agency, very similar to a COA, but they're really They really are set up for high-tech type businesses or businesses that are planning to go abroad. And they have wonderful help, particularly on their website, where you can get a lot of help with regards to your small business idea. The provincial government, Newfoundland and Labrador, offers all kinds of help and assistance to businesses through the Department of Industry. It comes under various names, but effectively the Department of Industry will help you get your business started. So each one of these, and I've hyperlinked these within the slides. So each government agency really has, I'll call it criteria. The criteria is pretty much the same for each of them. First of all, they're going to ask, is your business significant? Does it create jobs? Does it fulfill a well-identified need? Does it have lots of potential? Approach. Does it have a clearly developed business plan that lays out what this business is going to do? Innovation. Does the business have something particularly innovative? Is it something that's wowee that, banks might shy away from, but government in the long term would say, this is always good that we support high-tech businesses because that's the future of innovation, right? To support innovation. Assessment of expertise. They're looking for proof that you have the ability to run this business. So if you're starting a machine shop and you're a machinist, that's an example of proof. And obviously they're going to look for the need. How much do you really need the grant? Is there a clear, defined amount that you're looking for? What are you going to do with it? Do you really need it? Now, as I say, most of these operations now are loans. There are some instances where they have very good rates and very good incentives and some flexibility. So for example, if you're a winter business and you only generate winter revenue in the winter, that's when they'll look for loan payments. So they won't look for loan payments from you in the summer. Interest will continue, but that the rate structures and the repayment structures can be fitted to your business. So they have really good options there. So it's best to take a look at each of those in respect to your business idea, find what works best for you. But exceptionally helpful, and they can certainly guide you. And if you go to one will tell you, okay, here's your business idea, you should check with, or you should check with, or you should check with. So one will help point you to the others. Another aspect that we need to consider is the type of financing you have. Is it short-term financing or long-term financing? Long-term financing, I'll start that one first, really tends to be for stuff that's long-lived. So if you're buying a truck, a tractor, a building, those are usually higher priced and usually very long-term assets. So the loan will reflect that. Okay, the loan will tend to be a long-term loan over a period of years. Short-term financing, however, is really designed for, as its name suggests, short-term, about a year. And that's really common for businesses who just want to get over a hump or need to do something in the near term to buy something very quickly, buy some inventory, these sorts of things, stuff that's going to be converted to cash very quickly. So short-term financing is really designed for quick and dirty money, usually smaller amounts that can be repaid back within a year or two. So trying to figure out whether you should have a short-term loan or a long-term loan is often easy because it's a long-term asset, long-term loan, short-term loan. So you got to think about things like your borrowing requirements, how quickly you need the funds, the type of lender you're borrowing from, the type of collateral, or what backup do you have to pay for this if you don't pay, and your business's overall financial health. Usually short-term financing is more expensive, costs more to borrow. Long-term tends to get better rates on. Again, it really depends on what you're buying. Most businesses, in order to solve this problem of short-term loan issues, you don't want to be going to the bank every week to look for money. So a lot of banks will say to you, how about we start up with an operating line of credit? What this is what's called a revolving loan, meaning you can draw down a certain amount. You have a limit. You can borrow $50,000. You can draw down $1,000 this week, $1,000 next week, $1,000 next week, pay $4,000 the week after. So effectively what happens is you draw down on it and you pay it, and draw down on it and pay it, and as money comes in. A lot of small businesses need this because cash flow, when money actually comes into your business, is variable, meaning you might spend a lot and then you get a lot. Then you might spend a lot and get a lot. So lines of credit allow you to draw down funds on a regular basis without any real work. Just basically no different using your credit card to be able to allow your business to pay its short-term bills. The challenge with this is you need to have money coming in to pay that off. So the line of credit must be paid off at some point in time, even though you're always drawing down it. But you need to prove and keep the money flowing into it as much as it comes out of it. To set up a line of credit, it's pretty easy. You go to your financial institution. If they'll approve you for it, it's pretty straightforward. Just draw it down. No different than personal line of credit. In order to secure credit, one of the best ways to secure credit is to create a good credit history. Good credit history is relatively easy to do, but getting through that period of making it easy to do requires you to have some credit. Effectively, what you need to do is be able to prove to the bank that you are credit worthy, meaning that you'll pay your bills. So the more experience that you have at credit, the more credit you take on, the more you prove that you can pay off, the more easy it is to get credit. So your credit history is really the documentation to the bank or the lender that you're going to actually pay this thing off. They'll look at that and they'll say, yeah, this person has proven that they can do a good job. Here's some money. This is all about relationship. You really need to create a relationship with your lender in order to help you build this line of credit. And this is all part of this relationship process. So in order to build good credit, make sure that you, first of all, as you're getting inventory, get credit from your suppliers. 30 days, use it. Make sure you pay your bills. Take advantage of that opportunity that you have. If someone's going to supply you with product and they give you 30 days to pay it, take the 30 days, make sure you pay it at the end of 30 days, and that all helps build that credit history. Another important thing is when you have product that you're buying, let's say, for example, you're buying a long-term asset, a tractor, for example, you want to buy a tractor, you might want to consider leasing it as opposed to buying it. And again, every situation is different. You want to talk to your banker on that. But leasing will provide that credit history for you so much more completely than going and buying a tractor with cash or these sorts of things. So it allows you to build this credit history. So what do lenders look for? Ultimately, it all comes down to the capacity to repay. If you can prove to the bank that you can pay it off, they are gladly lending your money. That applies basically to anyone. If you can prove that you are going to make money, they'll gladly give you money. So there's lots and lots of other factors, but ultimately that's what it comes down to. Prove that you can pay this off and they will give you the money. Some other things that you might want to consider is the amount of capital you've personally invested. If you've shown that you've got a lot of skin in the game, they're more willing to give you money. If you haven't invested anything in your business, what does it say to the bank when you go looking for money? It says you don't really have a lot of vested interest in this, do you? So you're not going to lose a lot if it falls apart. So you need to prove that you've got a lot built into it. Collateral, meaning that you have assets that secure any loan. So if you own a house or other businesses that are paid for, it makes it so much easier to get money because the fact is that they know they can attach to that if you fail to pay the bill. If there's a clearly defined purpose for the line of credit, so if you're going to buy inventory that's easily resold, they'll look at it and say, yeah, well, if you went belly up tomorrow, they could sell out the inventory, get their money back. A clear business plan, and this is something we're going to talk about in another module, but a very clear, well-defined business plan that lays out what your business is, how you plan to make money on it, what your goals are, how do you plan to continue forward. These sorts of things are what a business plan is all about. Personal financial statements. Your personal credit history is going to reflect your businesses, right? If you've proven that you as an individual are good with credit, you're probably going to have a business that's good with credit. The business balance sheet, so the financial statements for the business certainly make a difference. And a statement of cash flow. What we mean by a statement of cash flow is when do the actual dollars flow in and out of your business? You got to be able to prove that your business has more coming in than going out, and that it needs that credit in order to facilitate. Let's say, for example, you have a winter business. It makes lots of money in the winter. It doesn't make any money in the summer. Well, the banks will look at that and say, okay, well, we do know that you do make money in January, February, March, April. That's when the money comes in. You make more than enough to pay the bills. They'll be happy with that. But they're at least they're aware when they expect to get their money. What if it all goes belly up? And lots of businesses run into problems through no fault of their own. COVID-19 was a classic example of how it killed a lot of businesses. You need to be very careful in your business because you probably will hit some hard times where you are not bringing in enough cash to pay the bills. What happens when you get in that? It's not unusual for business. What happens when you get in that? You need to make sure the bank is aware of your situation. Number one, tell them. So we need enough money to pay the bills. If we don't have enough money to pay the bills, let's look at seriously looking at, first of all, recognize we got a problem. Second, cutting costs. Let's get our costs as low as possible. What do we do in order to reduce our costs, reduce our inventory, reduce our workforce, these sorts of things. We're going to be contacting our creditors to say to them, look, guys, we're having some problems. We need an extra few days credit. Can we do that? Normally they'll say yes, because at least they'll get paid if they do that. If they say no, you could send your business belly up. They're not going to get paid then. Contact customers, contact suppliers. Customers owe you money. See if you can get some money from them. Suppliers, see if you can extend. And consolidate your bank loans. Go to your banker. Talk to your banker. It's always important. Talk to your banker. If you got lots and lots of little loans, consolidate them into one single one with a smaller payment. That could probably help your business as well. If everything goes south altogether, we have this bankruptcy option. And effectively, bankruptcy is a federal law that allows you to protect your business and you from your creditors. That's all it is. It's a shield. It doesn't mean you don't have to pay anyone back. It does mean that it provides some sort of a breathing space for you to get your business back in order. Now, the trade-off is that you're handing your business to what's called a trustee in bankruptcy. Someone is handling your business for you. And, do you want to do that? Well, if you have no choice, you might have to. But what generally happens in bankruptcy is that we try to liquidate the business, in other words, sell as much as possible to pay the bills. Okay? If we can get the bills paid and make arrangements with companies that we owe money to, we could probably get ourselves back on our feet again. Okay? It's last ditch type of thing that we do, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. If we go bankrupt, we might be able to pull ourselves out of it. However, if we can't, we can assume that once the bills are all paid off once we liquidate, we hope we can pay off the bills. If we can't pay off the bills, someone's going to come and looking at us personally to pay off those bills. So for unincorporated proprietorships, you're going to be liable for all the debts of the business, and they're going to come looking to you personally. For incorporated businesses, which are a separate entity, okay, in law, they're going to try to, again, keep the people that we owe money to at bay and make arrangements with them. That's what the trustee's job is in order to get them as paid as best as possible to satisfy the creditors. There are limitations in terms of the law with regards to how you can go about collecting credit, be it you collecting credit for someone else or someone else trying to collect credit from you. And the Government of Newfoundland's website, Consumer Collection Agency, has a bunch of information with regards to when and when you can't call or things that you can and can't do in order to collect money. So it all comes down to relationships ultimately, because we can imagine that most firms will have some challenges over the course of their lifetime. You got a good relationship with your banker, that helps smooth out these homes. And building these long-term relationships are critically important. And that's what we recommend that all businesses do, is build a long-term relationship with their bankers or their lending agencies or even their investors to ensure that, we can get over the bad homes, because there will be bad homes. At the end of this unit, there's a discussion activity that has you think about where you can get money to start your business and investigate a couple of them. So I want you to take a look at that exercise. If you have any questions, please let me know. That's everything for tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.